Hello and welcome to the Passion Driven Pioneers interview series. I'm your host, John Channon, and today I'm joined by Greg Castagneri, who is the CEO of Cast Drywall. Greg, thank you so much for joining us today. Would you
Hey,
like to kick
John.
us? Yeah, no problem. Glad to have you. Would you like to just kick us off with a brief background as to who you are, what you do in the business that you're in?
Yeah, my name's Greg. I'm the owner of Cast Drywall. I'm a third generation painter, first generation drywaller, and first generation business owner. I got the entrepreneurial bug early on. I always wanted to be the boss. I never knew what that really meant. Um, what I found out, it's a lot of work and a lot of benefits, but really no glamour. You know, my 15 minutes of fame have turned into 15 years of hard work. That's kind of been it. So, but I wouldn't change a thing. Like my wife always tells me, you know, she says, you know, you wouldn't want it any other way, but to be like this. So, yeah,
Well, good. You mentioned
it's kind of.
first-time drywall entrepreneur. So what inspired you to get into the drywall business and start up a drywall business?
So what inspired me? My dad was a big push into that. He was a painter. My grandpa was a painter, house painter, and I started painting. And my dad knew a guy that was in drywall, and he was making more money than I was, and he was my age, and my dad didn't like that. So I heard this guy's name every year or every day, and I knew what he made each week. And so I kind of got pushed or a little nudged into that direction. And it sounded good to me before I started it. You know, it sounded really good, you know. Uh, and then I started and I found out it was a lot harder than painting, and I had to get a lot more different skills for it. So yeah, that's kind of my direction for that.
Okay. So what were some of the skills you needed to develop? Because I've kind of visualized painting and drywall as being not too different, but maybe they are, and I'm just unaware of it.
They're very similar. You know, I've been on walls since I was 7 years old. But the difference between painting and drywall, they're both really meticulous. You need an eye for detail and pay attention to you know, your surroundings. But physically, drywall and drywall finishing is physically more difficult. It's a harder job, and I wasn't used to the overhead work.
Hmm.
Um, you know, painting basically was in front of me. Overhead work was for drywall was a lot harder, and so I had to get used to that. And they use different terminology, and I was taught, you know, kind of a really an old school way of taping and finishing. That's what I am by trade, as a taper finisher. And you know, I'm really thankful that I was put into that team in that really old way of doing it, because it really taught me the skills necessary to have that critical eye today, besides all my dad's knowledge that he's given me. So,
Oh, good. So talk a little bit about you're starting up this new business in drywall. You know, you had some new skills you needed to learn, but what were some of did you have any misconceptions when you got started about how this business would grow or take off or how you'd get clients or anything?
honestly, I had no idea what I was doing. I had no clue. Um, my dad, none of my mom or my dad, none of them had ever had a business. They all discouraged me from it. Honestly, I thought I would just go get some work and start a business. I thought if I was a good tradesperson, that I would have a successful business. And I found out that a trades guy and a business guy are two different things. And you know, that's taken. You know, that was a really a long lesson for me. And thankfully, I did learn that. You know, my mom was a controller of a couple companies, so I learned. I didn't learn much from her, but what she would say. I knew when month end was, fiscal year, that type of language. And then my dad was really an outgoing guy. So he would go and knock doors in the summer for extra side jobs for painting. And I kind of went around with them. So that's all I kind of knew what it would be like. But it was a struggle at first, you know. Yeah, but I've gotten really a lot of school of hard knocks. That's how I learned from the ground up, and kind of watching other people, talking with other business owners. That's really helped me throughout the years.
Well, and I know you've been doing this for quite a few years. So obviously you were able to get through that initial period and make it into a successful business that's still operating today. Um, Tell us a little bit about some of those key skills that you developed early on where you said, never run a business before. What were some of the things you learned about business along the way here?
The number one thing I think I learned was to get a bookkeeper right away. To know that I need to just stay in my lane and not try and do everything. I still try and do everything, but not try and do everything, really get a bookkeeper, have somebody set up a website for me, get some professionals, really let people know that I am in business, what type of work we're doing. And team building has really helped me the most. Learning how to team build has been really the success of my business, and building that A player team, has really helped me the most. I've learned that I've needed to pay more than the market pays for really A players. Almost in a sense, overpaying. I'd never want my guys to hear that, or I've got gals too, but never want them to hear that. But yes, essentially overpaying, and that buys me a lot of time and energy back from having to oversee certain projects or certain people that I can spend my time working on in different areas and growing the business. So, which I'm still doing now.
Before we started this interview, we were chatting and you mentioned that you went through a period where you did a rebranding from, I think, the Drywall Guy to Cast Drywall. Talk a little bit about what prompted you to do that and then what's been the result on your business as effect of doing that.
Yeah, that's a great question too. I came up with this great idea. I would call my business Drywall Guy because that's all I heard growing up. And it was simple. It was kind of, hokey a bit. And I was kind of a smaller company, and it was memorable. People could remember that easy. They would just Google that and I would come up. But some of my builders, as I started to get working with more builder type clients, they started to question whether or not I could handle the jobs they were giving me. They might give me 5 houses or a smaller apartment or a commercial job, and they would question me. And so I always had to field that question. So my wife's in marketing, and we were talking about that. And, we kind of threw up some names. It took a bit to come up with that one. I came up with that name like years ago, and nobody liked it. It's basically the first 4 letters of my last name. And, my wife said, well, let's take a look at that again. And I agreed with it. We came up with kind of a logo, and she wrote up this whole marketing thing. And that's really helped me gear more towards where I want to go, to grow more with contractors, remodelers, even more retail homeowners, direct with homeowners. They're more trusting, Back when I was Drywall Guy, homeowners would like that because it seemed like one guy, safe and secure. So it took a bit, but I'm really glad I listened to my wife and we made the change for rebranding.
And it
So
sounds like it's had a really positive impact on your business and brought you more in line with who you wanted to focus on and do business with anyways.
absolutely, it's really helped. I can really get behind this company now. Like I said, Drywall Guy, to me, it seemed a little hokey. And this seems more like a professional business geared. It's got a direction just in itself. So yeah.
So a lot of times as I get asked about, work-life balance when you're first starting up a business as compared to now you're 19 years down the road. Can you talk a little bit about what that work-life balance was at the beginning and maybe how it's changed since then?
Yeah, I always say, work's been my life and it's given me balance, you know. Um, I, I'm I spent a lot of days working every day, first on the job, last to leave. Matter of fact, when I started the trade, the drywall trade, I would go in early and stay late just so I could learn and maybe get better and get a pay raise and I never charged my boss for that at the time. And I've always kind of had that work ethic. Life has really been great for me. Work I think about work a lot. I think about business, where I want to go, and who I want to come with us, and what direction, who we want to help. But I have a family, and I have a son, a teenager. He has sports. I coach on some of those sports teams, so I've had to just rearrange my time. I'm not working every weekend. If it is work, it might be paperwork or something like that. I've still been known to go in on a Saturday or Sunday to do something. I've worked every holiday there is, every birthday except this year. We took it off, had some fun. So yeah, balance has been a challenge for me. If it seemed from the outside in, but for me, like I said, work's been my life, and it's really given me balance.
Good. No, that sounds really good. I'm gonna change the subject, right? So the drywall industry seems like maybe there's not a lot of innovation happening in that industry. Maybe there is, right? But what are some of the ways that or methods you're using to stay adaptable to change and remaining innovative in your industry?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. We still do a lot of things really old school, but part of what helps me is my team, and my suppliers. They keep me kind of grounded to what's new, what new technologies, what new products, some of the new muds, some of the new compounds. Obviously, the new sheetrock, it's a lot lighter and a lot stronger, but there's some trims, there's some things like that. And finding about really tuning into, you know, we don't paint much, but I need to know what are the paint, what are the new technologies with paint. I talk to painters. I'll talk to even the subs before us. How is insulation? How's the plastic? What is that? So kind of the subs before us and after, I find out, what are some new things you guys are doing too to kind of help us? How is the lighting going to affect our walls? What type of finish do we need to put on the walls because of the lighting? Kind of always asking that, and what can we do? Because I can get set in my ways pretty easy, so I leave it up to and depend on my guys to kind of just see what they're doing on the job when I check in. So
Okay.
yeah.
I'm going to ask you another question. This is a little bit different. So if you could wave a magic wand and change one thing about your business, what would that be?
Oh, that's a great question. um, I think I would have it so I had a little more time. So I would, I want to grow it. We want to grow it internal. I want to get project manager, and I want somebody to kind of run the company for me. So I can still be the vision, but have somebody run the company for me. So I think that would be my magic wand, and it would happen very fast, and I wouldn't have any growing pains with that. That's what I would like to have.
Okay. Good. Well, I
So,
appreciate you taking the time to answer that
yeah.
question. That's always one that provokes a little bit of thought, and just like, okay, if I could change one thing, what would that be? So you started to talk a little bit about some of the future plans that you have for your business. Can you share with us some of those future plans and goals that you have for your business?
Yeah, they, they kind of come and go. They always resurface though, the same, I want to grow, I want to go more into painting too, have a division for painting since it is our background. I would like to take over the whole wall completely from the sheetrock to the taping, finishing, to the priming, to the painting, and see just the finished product every project. We've been dabbling in that a bit. So that direction, and then see it grow a little bit. And I'd like to see it to where it would run itself a little more, where I could just go, like I said, my son is in sport. He mountain bike races. So we like to do a lot of that. And I would love to honestly take a month off. I can go anywhere now with the phone, but have less hands-on and just go with the family, biking, something like that, to a different state or even around here, and still have the business successful and innovative at that time. So that's what I happen.
What would be some of the key things you would need to offload off your plate to enable that to happen?
I think I need key people in place. I do a lot of it now. I'm really used to running, this size of a business. I've been questioned about that I'm doing it all. Not basically, but doing a lot more than, really I want to. I'd like to focus on just certain aspects of the business. And I think getting key people in place, that would help me a lot. So that would help me grow. A lot of this too, I've noticed that, not only growing the business, but a lot of personal development. I've had to do a lot of that just throughout the years. And, it's really helped me grow as a person also. But I've noticed if I want to grow as a business and have more success, that I've had to grow, do a lot of personal development with that.
Those are good insights. So knowing that this show is really directed towards people that may be in their first few years of business or starting up a business, do you have any final thoughts you'd like to share with our audience today?
That's a great question. Be willing to be open and be okay with making mistakes. Just know that you're going to make some mistakes and that it's okay, and just get right back on the horse. For me, it's been a lot of up and downs, a lot of hard days, some good days, but just, really being able to get back on and, reaffirming myself. I've been through in business, I've been through 2001, 9/11, the crash, and then whatever talk is out there now, which I don't listen to. But just have your goals, stay the course the best you can. I know I've kind of went all over, but that's just part of me. And then ask for help. Coaches really help. Get some mentors. At first I didn't have, YouTube wasn't available. There's so much information now out there, a lot of good information, a lot of mentors, a lot of business people. I think that's the best advice I could give would be, don't quit. You're going to fall down, but get back up. And it's okay.
Yeah, that's really good advice. So thank you so much for your time today, Greg. It was great meeting you and learning more about your entrepreneurial journey and building this business. And to everyone watching, I look forward to seeing you in our next episode.